Prosecution's really got to help the jury understand what was going on 20 plus years ago. Teresa Black, now accused of the death of her 6-year-old back in 1998. There she is today in the courtroom. Let's go back into court now for more testimony. This is again, more from the ex-husband of the defendant.
It was 2005 that she's married to him. So what is the relevance of her, what was the question, parenting?
No, I asked what was Teresa's demeanor with him, her, and their child.
Okay.
And Your Honor, the question of
let's get a proffer from the witness about what he's going to say, and then maybe I can make a determination if it's relevant.
Yes. Back when you and Teresa first had your daughter, what was the relationship like when the daughter was first born?
It was wonderful.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had one. And at some point you all left and moved to Alaska.
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point did the dynamics of your all's relationship change?
Yes, it did.
And as a result of the change of the dynamics of your relationship change, did you move from Alaska?
Yes, I did.
And did you move back to, where did you move back to?
I moved back to Charlotte.
No. And so that's the basis of those statements, Your Honor.
All right, so what's the relevant, how is this more likely to help the jury decide whether or not the defendant is guilty or not guilty of murder?
Well, Your Honor, murder is not the only charge in the indictment. It also there's additional charge of concealing the death of another person.
Okay.
He's going to get into more detail about a conversation that he had with William on the phone. All of this information goes to her to be able to show how she is concealing the death of William. She is acting like he is still alive, acting like his life is still present, everything is happy.
For the purpose of the continued concealment of the death?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. That wasn't articulated earlier, so thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judge, just as to his, and I think you're picking up on this, as to his relationship with Teresa and how she was as a parent, we have a continuing objection to that relevance as to this case.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor, I am going to go into additional details with Mr. Black in reference to his relationship with his daughter. This is also going to be information that's going to also come out with Mr. Black. I suspect that I've talked to Mr. Black several times and Mr. Hamilton that I suspect they're going to say something to the effect that when Ms. Black gets upset with them as an individual, she doesn't allow them to see the child.
Okay. What does that ask? That's the part that he's objecting to.
Yes, and so that again directly contradicts Ms. Black's statement that she provided to Lieutenant Quigley as to the fact of how she didn't have help, that she was a single parent, that she was on her own, when in fact she actually had individuals wanted to help, and
But that was in 2005. But now.
Correct, but it also was in 1999.
Judge, propensity. They're getting into a pattern that once she did it now,
All right.
she did it back then.
If you can testify as to information about what the situation was in 1998 or 1999, around the time of the incident, that's fine. But I don't think assuming she kept him from seeing their daughter in 2005, I don't think that has any relevance. You know, the other thing as far as conversations she had and the issue of the concealing of the death, I get that. But I don't see any connection or any relevance to her keeping him away from their daughter in 2005 has anything to do with what she may or may not have done in 1998.
Your Honor, I disagree with that. I do think that is important for the jury to see, in addition to the fact that several witnesses have got on here and stated about, well, Ava, for instance, she got on the stand and stated how that Teresa was very distant and disconnected from William. And here, we are trying to also show how she allows other individuals or other parents to become disconnected, which also goes to the fact that she does not, so she has help, but she's constantly turning away.
I don't think her turning away help in 2005 is relevant to what happened in 1998, or what happened or what didn't happen. I don't see that, other than Mr. Welty's propensity argument that this is how she was.
Well, Your Honor, I actually don't, I understand his propensity argument, but it's not a character trait.
All right, well, I'm not gonna allow the test. You go ahead and ask about the conversations with respect to the concealment, all that is fair game. But I don't think her keeping him away from their daughter in 2005 has any, unless you can show some connection to one of the charges, I don't think that's relevant.
Will it be also appropriate to ask Mr. Black, when is the last time he saw his daughter? I haven't asked him why. I'm just
Ask him now, I'd like to know the answer and why.
When is the last time you saw your daughter?
2010.
And why is that?
Well, I wasn't going to ask him why, but Judge.
At the time,
I'm asking, the jury's not here, so I want to know what it is.
at the time she was,
She's who?
Miss Teresa was seeing somebody else.
Okay.
So when we so-called supposed to separate it, we was doing our parenting thing. She would send her down sometimes for me.
Okay. What's the relevance of that then, when you last saw the daughter?
Your Honor, again, I think it goes to the fact that he's testifying that he's also willing to help. He wants to see his daughter, and Teresa Black is not helping and allowing that.
Okay.
Just as people were trying to take care of William, she's not allowing that to happen.
I know, she did it now, that's how it is, it's the reverse propensity. As opposed to she's done it before, she's done it now. Now you're saying she did it then and she's still doing it now. It's the same principle, just the timing is off. So I'm going to sustain the objection. He can talk about anything having to do with or anything relevant to the concealment charge, however. But we're not going to get into his relationship with the daughter in 2005 or today.
And Judge, does that also go for his relationship with Miss Black? I think he spoke about her seeing someone else and why they broke up. I don't think that's right.
I wasn't going to ask that question.
Okay. You understand the ruling then?
Yes,
Is that clear? Okay. All right.
Okay, so what we've stumbled in on here, and you can tell the jury not present as the judge is having quite the conversation with the witness, with the attorneys. Fascinating stuff to see this, you pull the curtain back. If you're geeking out on this legal stuff. Of course, if you're not, you've already changed the channel to SpongeBob and grabbed a bag of chips. But Katherine Lizardo's here, Rich Schoenstein. This is fascinating dissection of relevance, and with so many counts in play, the judge has to kind of sift and sort through what seemed to me, Rich, ultimately to decide, hey, Mr. Witness, Mr. X of Ms. Black, you can't talk about how she treated you with regard to your child, and then somehow the jury's supposed to say, well, hey, he was kept from seeing his child, therefore she concealed this child that's been missing and now dead. What do you think about her analysis?
What channel is SpongeBob on? So this is a tough thing to separate for the judge, because it is relevant to the concealment case. Does she continue to conceal what happened to this child?
Once a concealer, always a concealer. Right. Is that it?
Well, no, but she's concealing for many years, the theory is, what happened to the child, which supposedly she knows about, and those facts have to come out. But her treatment of another man's daughter 5 or 6 years after the events at issue in this case is not relevant. And you can't just say, oh, she treated this other child poorly. She wanted to keep this other man away from his child, and therefore we know that she murdered her own child. I mean, right? It doesn't follow.
At best, it relates to the concealment. At best. It doesn't get much beyond that. Right. So, Katherine, how did the Honorable Mr. Schoenstein do on that?
I can see see that that is what the state was trying to argue, but I agree with the judge ruling here not to allow it. And like you, I am geeking out when I was listening to the arguments, because I like how the judge said reverse propensity. What that means is propensity is usually about prior bad acts, that if you did something before the crime, then you probably have a tendency to do it at the time of the crime. So that's not allowed. But here, what she's trying to say is, if she had a tendency to do that after the crime, then she probably did it during the crime that was years back. So that's why it's reversed. That's because it's inadmissible because of the bias of human nature to think that once you did something bad, you're going to do it again, which doesn't necessarily is true, especially in law.
Yep, and as the judge asked very clearly, how does that prove or disprove some of the things that she's been accused of, which is the classic relevance kind of question. So we'll see what, it's always interesting to see once a juror, a testimony of a witness is crafted, how well that witness stays within those lines. We shall see. We're going to come back with more of that testimony. I don't know, Squidward taking the stand? We're going to come back more from this witness, see where he goes in this Black case. We'll be right back.